so people will begin to funnel on in.
Yay.
Usually just takes a little bit.
Oh, I know I like to be fashionably late to all of my Zoom meetings, so I understand.
I mean, very busy schedules these days. It's a long commute from the couch to the bed to the computer. It's just...
I get nervous being like the first person in, so sometimes I'm like, I'm gonna wait till 1 after and then log in.
As our attendees come on in, we are very excited to have you. We're going to give just a little bit as more people log in before we start our official program. We do have the chat box open today, so feel free to send all of your love and messages, and also make sure that you are brainstorming some questions. Down at the bottom, there's a Q&A function, so you can submit some questions there as well throughout the event.
Is that okay? I'm gonna react.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. I just want to do a little dance.
I know. Like, could have had a DJ.
Oh, we should have. I do have a playlist for Charlie.
Oh, do you? Have you shared that publicly?
I think I've tweeted about it, but I have to put it on my Instagram too. And
Oh yeah,
this is Charlie's playlist.
Oh, I want to hear it for sure.
That sounds amazing. I'm very excited to listen to it. So yeah, as other people keep logging in, let's get the boring intro stuff out of the way. So good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us to celebrate Crystal Maldonado's debut novel, Fat Chance Charlie Vega. I am obsessed with this book, and if you don't already understand why, you will very soon, I promise. My name is Stephanie. I am the children's manager at Print a Bookstore in Portland, Maine. Just as a quick reminder to everyone, Crystal will be answering questions after the presentation. So if you look towards the bottom of the screen, you'll see a Q&A function down there. That is where you can submit your questions. We also have copies of Fat Chance Charlie Vega available for sale on our website. So right now I'm going to drop a link to where you can get your own copy. And one last thing before we begin, I wanted to let all of you know about some of our other YA events we have going on over the next couple weeks. On Tuesday, February 23rd, we'll be joined by Natalie Walton and speak about it for Natalie's novel, Revenge of the Sluts. And on Monday, March 1st, we'll be hosting Olivia Chara and Kat Valente to discuss Olivia's novel, Rise of the Red Hand. I'm going to drop a link to our full calendar events right now into the chat as well, so you can get those on your calendar. And now, without any further ado, it is my absolute honor to introduce Crystal Maldonado and her In Conversation partner this evening, Carmen of Tomes and Textiles. Crystal is a writer by night and a marketer and social media manager by day. She's been published in Latina Magazine, The Hartford Courant, and Dogster, and is the co-founder of the online magazine Positively Smitten. Fat Chance Charlie Vega is her debut novel and was bought in a competitive preempt as part of a 2-book deal, which means that there's another book coming, and I am so excited. I can't even contain myself. She lives in Western Massachusetts with her husband, her dog, and her super duper adorable baby daughter. Carmen of Tomes and Textiles is a Cuban book lover living in Florida. Carmen enjoys taking photos and reviewing books on Bookstagram, focusing mainly on Latinx books with a bit of vintage fashion and feminism thrown into the mix. When she isn't reading, she enjoys doing yoga, cooking, and spending time with her partner and 2 dogs. And now, without further ado, I will pass it all the way down the coast from Maine to Florida to Carmen and Crystal as we dive into this conversation.
I'm so excited, Crystal, to be here with you. And I wish I could send some sunshine your way, but hopefully it'll come soon.
Yes, fingers crossed.
I wanted to ask you, it's been 2 weeks exactly today since your book published, and it's your debut novel. And I'm wondering, I want to know before we get into it, how are you doing?
I'm good. I am like riding high, I feel like. So I'm a little tired, I will say. I would love a nap, but I feel like the reception to my book so far has been so overwhelmingly positive in like the best ways. And I feel just like so humbled and it has been everything to just see people like have the book and to style it in these like beautiful Instagram photos. And I've had like the great fortune of seeing a couple of people do recreations of the cover, and that has like made me so emotional and so just like, oh my God, that's my book. And you're like, you love it so much that you're taking the time to dress up like Charlie. Like, this is truly the greatest.
I love it. I love it. I love it so much. And I'm hoping to sneak in a book look soon for you.
Please. Should I kick it off with a little bit of reading from the
Yes.
maybe the first chapter?
I
or
would
so,
love
and
it.
then, all right. All right. I'm a little nervous, so bear with me. Okay, so we're just going to start with chapter 1. And you're going to meet Charlie Vega. So this is my debut novel, Fat Chance Charlie Vega. I imagine being kissed about 100 times a day. The tense moment just before the kiss, when they look right at me like there's no one else in the room. The way they caress my cheek, maybe put their hand on the small of my back. To be so close to someone I care about, someone I like, or maybe even love, feeling the warmth of their skin near mine would be magic. They smell good, and I can almost feel their lips on mine, even before they're there. And then they are, soft, gentle, and I forget who I am just for a second. I forget everything else. I forget that I don't always have the right thing to say. I forget about comparing myself to my best friend. I forget about the issues with my mom. I forget how badly I wish I were a size 2. I forget it all, except for that kiss. And it's not so much the who, it's more about the what. The kiss, a kiss, to be kissed. It's the stuff my dreams are made of. But it hasn't happened yet, and I'm beginning to think it never will. At least, not like this. Not the way my best friend Amelia and her boyfriend Sid are kissing up against my car. I should be mad at them, and normally I would be, but for right now, I'm kind of okay with the show. That's how pathetic I am. Like, it should set me on fire that Amelia and Sid are kissing as if I don't exist. And yeah, that part is kind of annoying, but also it just sends me spiraling off into my own thoughts about kissing and boys, and I'm feeling wistful and alone and find myself missing something I never even had. I honk the horn. Amelia finally pulls away from Sid, shooting me an apologetic glance, but smiling and giggling. She and Sid whisper to each other, then kiss once more, and Amelia finally starts to get into the car. Sorry, she says as she slides into the passenger seat. I'm a total jerk. I know. You're not a total jerk, I say, pulling onto the road and heading toward my house. But you think you could say goodbye before I pick you up? It's kind of weird to have to watch. I leave out the part where their kissing basically makes me have an existential crisis. Next time, I promise. Sid always leans up against the car like it's his, I say. I know my car is a piece of shit, but it's my piece of shit. I'll admit that I get easily annoyed at Sid. He's a senior at another school, and I think he's a little too vain, too aloof. Amelia is kind and giving and warm, and Sid is just sort of there. He's nice enough to me, which is good, but he's just underwhelming, like in a slacker who smokes pot all day kind of way that doesn't seem to align well with Amelia's popular and pretty with a million extracurriculars vibe. He is hot though, super hot. All muscles and a beard a teenager probably shouldn't be able to grow. I'll give him that. Amelia says he treats her well and that it's nice to have a boyfriend at another school because she doesn't feel suffocated and it gives her a break from everything. So fine, ideal. I'm sorry, Charlie, for real. I'm just lucky to have a friend who will put up with that and still give me a ride home. She smiles and bats her long eyelashes at me. I grin. So how was work, she asks. I spent the afternoon putting together 100 marketing packets for some trade show next week, I say. I work part-time as an office assistant at a small family-run business that sells medical products, mostly to hospitals. So totally riveting, as you can imagine. How was Sid's? If I were lighter skinned, you'd be able to tell that I'm blushing just thinking about it. I wrinkle my nose. Ugh, let's leave it at that, all right? Sorry, I didn't mean to make you feel weird or anything. Lots of people have never been kissed. She shoots me a sympathetic glance, and now it's me who's blushing. Acknowledging my virginal lips out loud makes it so much worse. I've mentioned this to her before, and yet, yep, I say. We're quiet for a sec, but I relax a little when she pulls out her phone, eager for a subject change. Did you look at the video I sent you earlier? Which one, I ask. Truthfully, Amelia and I send each other about 100 things a day. Some of it's just talking back and forth, but a lot of it is trashy or hilarious things we find online. Oh, wait, the one of the sleepy puppy who falls off the couch? Yes, she squeals, and the sound of the little puppy snoring fills the empty space in the car. It's so cute. I've watched it 10 times already, I swear. Look, he's about to do it. At a perfectly timed red light, I lean over and watch as the dozy puppy droops right off the couch and we both erupt into giggles. God, we should totally get a dog, I say. Right? We could share him or her, I interrupt. Amelia corrects herself, though I know she's probably playfully rolling her eyes at me from the passenger seat. Or her. Some days that cutie could be with me, other days with you. It would be the most well-loved pup ever. As we pull up to my house, a single-story white ranch with my dad's beloved Puerto Rican flag dangling from the porch, I point to my mom's Audi in the driveway. Then I sigh. Puppy would have to live with her too, though. I had been not so secretly hoping that my mom's job as a branch manager at the local credit union might keep her late so that she wouldn't be home yet. But now that I work too, that's not always the case. We could go to my house instead if you want. We're already here, I say. I pull the keys out of the ignition. Plus, she'll be pleased to see her favorite daughter. I mean Amelia, and she knows it, so she gives me the finger. We head inside. I'm immediately hit with the sweet sense of apple and cinnamon, and without stepping into the kitchen, I know a candle is burning on the windowsill. It's Mom's favorite to light because it, quote, goes with the theme, meaning the red accent wall and the carefully placed apple knickknacks on the most of the oak surfaces. Mom, I'm home. Charlotte, I'm right here. There's no need for yelling, my mom calls from the other room. She's yelling too, though. Amelia is here, I say, tossing my keys onto the side table next to the door. The tone of Mom's voice changes immediately. Oh, Amelia, she says, and she's suddenly in the living room to greet us. Her hair is pulled back into a sleek ponytail. She's wearing yoga pants, a fitted athletic top, and sneakers, signaling she's likely on the way to the gym. She kisses my cheek, then Amelia's. To Amelia, she says, so good to see you. Don't you look beautiful? Special day at school? I glance at Amelia, but I don't really need to know that she does. She always looks beautiful. She has flawless dark skin that never blemishes and curly black hair that never seems out of place. She's tall and thin and everything looks good on her, and it's completely unfair, but also like if anyone deserves to be that flawless, it's Amelia. No, nothing special today, Amelia says, glancing down at her retro chic outfit, a fitted black turtleneck and tights under a curve-hugging spaghetti strap dress with a shrug. See, Charlie, you always say people don't dress up for school, but they do. Look how put together Amelia looks. My mom's eyes flit over my outfit, jeans, ballet flats, and what I thought was a pretty cute sweater, as if to say, compared to this. Gee, thanks, Mom. Mom waves her hand at me. You know what I mean. Anyway, Amelia, you look great. Oh, thanks, Jean. You know you can call me Mom. She's offered this to Amelia about 100 times now. I suppress an eye roll. Mom, I think we're going to go hang out in my room and do some homework, okay? Okay, let me know if you need anything. We will. I call over my shoulder as we walk to my room. Behind us, I close the door and lock it as Amelia starts giggling and flops on her bed, tossing her bag on the floor. I laugh a little too. She really wants you to call her Mom, I say. It just feels so weird. I've never called her Mom, not since we met in the 2nd grade. Why does she keep saying that to me? She asks. She just really likes you, I shrug, trying to keep my voice cool. And you know how she is. Once she's made up her mind about something, that's it. So if she hasn't stopped offering this to you yet, she never will. My conspiracy theory is that my mom secretly wishes Amelia was her daughter and is doing this to subtly reveal it to me. My more realistic theory is that my mom doesn't realize how overtly she dotes on Amelia and that maybe it might make her daughter feel some type of way. That said, it's true Amelia embodies a lot of the characteristics my mom wishes I possessed. I sometimes can't blame her. I wish I could be more like Amelia too. All right, I'm going to leave it there. So we're about halfway through chapter 1.
I love that opening so much. And I feel like you've already given us a little bit of the plot, but do you want to give us a little bit more about
Yeah,
what
I'd love to. All right, I'm going to give you like a little elevator pitch. So
Okay.
I feel like at the heart of this book, Fat Chance Charlie Vega is just a story about love. So it's all kinds of love. So it's love with her friends, as we see. There's Amelia there, and she's so perfect and so amazing. It's also love with family, and like, what does that mean? And what if we have complex relationships with our family? And what if we've lost connection with our family? And how do we reconnect? It's also obviously about first love. So she's dreaming about getting kissed, and she just really wants to fall in love. And then, of course, there is self-love. So Charlie is just trying to figure herself out and figure out like her place in this world. And she's fat, and she's like, well, how come I'm fat, and like, how come can I love myself, and what do all these things mean, and how come the world tells me I need to be different? So it's really just like all about different kinds of love, and it's also a little bit about fashion. It's about a lot of big feelings, and it's about a lot of firsts. So that's my elevator pitch.
I'm sold. I'm absolutely sold.
Thanks, Carmen.
So it's no secret that I read the book, and I wanted to ask you before I get questions to you. I wanted to ask you a question about Charlie. If this was Charlie's debut, how do you think she'd be feeling right now?
Oh my God. Okay. So I feel like she would be totally buzzing with excitement, just like writing in her journals and just like telling her online friends, like, oh my God, I can't believe this is all happening. And I feel like she'd also be a little bit anxious by the attention, because she is a little shy. And I will say she gets that from me. So I think that she'd be a little nervous, but overwhelmingly just like excited. And she is like somebody who wears her heart on her sleeve. So I think you'd be able to tell that immediately, that she was like really pumped and couldn't wait, you know?
I bet I can see her loving it, quite
Totally.
honestly. Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, as Charlie's author mom, so you're debuting during a pandemic, and I'm wondering what your expectation was like before and how you've adjusted your expectations debuting in a pandemic.
So I feel like so new to publishing and the whole publishing process that I almost feel like I didn't have many expectations going into it. And I actually think that worked out really well for me. So I have been just so excited and just thrilled by everything that I went into this just like, man, if one person reads my book, that's going to be the greatest thing ever. So I didn't know what exactly to sort of expect. The only expectation I really had was I really wanted to have like a launch party. And of course, the one thing I had in mind sort of got shifted a little bit. But I've kind of got to have like multiple launch parties with a lot of wonderful people like you. And so this is wonderful and exciting in other ways. And so, you know, publishing the book itself is just such a dream come true for me. So it's very interesting to juxtapose like these really positive feelings of accomplishment and like thrill and excitement with the stress of the pandemic, which I know has been so difficult on everyone. And so that I feel like has been the weirdest part, to like be trying to like post about it and be rah, we're so excited, and then also know like it is hard.
Sure.
But there have been a lot of silver linings too, like getting to have these events. So like we're right now in Massachusetts and Maine and Florida and probably a bunch of other places too, all at the same time. And so that's been amazing. And then like getting to meet authors who are also debuting during this time and sort of bonding together over that in a way I think we might not get to bond if we weren't all stuck inside of our houses has been kind of nice in a way.
Sure.
Yeah.
I love your like super optimistic response and like how this is just, you're like, I'm just going to be sunshine. I love that.
I'm trying.
Oh, and it just seems like it really is like just a wonderful celebration for you regardless. So
It
I'm
has
so happy
been.
for you.
I feel so lucky, and just trying to like, I've been trying to appreciate all of the wonderful moments, like the big moments, the small moments, like all of it. I've just been trying to take it in because everything else can feel so overwhelming, and it's hard, right? Like there are some days that are really tough, and so I'm taking these moments of positivity and just like putting them in my little heart and being like, I'm going to save you for later.
Oh, that's so sweet. I love it. I love it. So I know like everyone's here to talk about the book. So I wanted to ask you some of my questions about the book.
Please.
I wanted to start with Charlie and her mom, which you referenced already in like the first chapter. It
Yes.
already gets referenced. So they have a little bit of a tumultuous relationship. But the interesting thing that I liked is that you didn't choose like the kind of typical parental child strife. The tension is that Charlie's mom wants Charlie to lose weight. She wants her to be healthier and like all these things. And I'm wondering why you chose like that to be the conflict between them versus like more like a societal pressure to be skinny or something like that. I wanted to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So to me, Charlie's mom really is kind of an interesting stand-in for the pressures from the world. So, you know, when you are fat or plus size or whatever, like if you have a body that's not the quote unquote typical body, you feel these pressures so much. And sometimes it's overt, but sometimes it's not so overt. It's subtle and it's in, you know, little jabs here and there. But I thought it would be really interesting to sort of look at this from a mother-daughter perspective, because I think mother-daughter relationships can be complicated. And so I've known, you know, mother-daughter relationships who have had this element where it's like, I'm looking out for you, but I want you to be different in some way, you know, whatever that way may be. And so I really wanted to validate that experience and sort of have it on the page and show that like sometimes even the most well-intentioned people can still do and say things that can sometimes be hurtful. And I wanted to show, you know, a really complex familial relationship. So that was really important to me going into this, because for so long I've consumed media that shows families that have issues, but you know, they ultimately get resolved, and it's like they have a big talk or they go to therapy, or there's something where it's like, oh, I realized I was wrong, and they sort of come together and it resolves itself. And that's wonderful, but it's also not always the case, right? Like that doesn't always happen in real life.
It's true.
So sometimes I feel like you don't get the resolution or the change that you may hope for. So in Charlie's case, I feel like she really does deserve a mom who will go to therapy or who will work on herself, but it's not so clear if they'll ever get to that place. And I think it's healthier for Charlie and for the readers to be aware of that possibility, and then to start thinking about, how do I set those boundaries? How do I come to terms with things myself? How do I feel empowered? And basically not wait for the change to happen externally, and work on those changes internally and take measures to like protect yourself, draw your boundaries, and make sure that you're feeling happy and appreciated. And then hopefully that has a ripple effect.
Yeah, I really like that tension and like the way you kind of worked through that, because her mom had kind of like a story where she had lost weight, and like, always the well-intentioned and trying to give her advice and have this shake or whatever. And it was very interesting because it's like, you always think of home as like the sanctuary and the safe space. And it's like, she'd come home to hear things that maybe she had only seen as microaggressions or an ad or something outside. Like, I thought it was a very interesting perspective for sure.
And the two of them they've lived in this world and experienced the same pressures to be smaller. You know, her mom was fat, and they got those same messages. And so I sort of wanted to show what you can do with those. So Charlie's mom got those messages and did one thing, and that worked for her. And
Sure.
Charlie got those same messages and she chose something totally different, and that worked for her too.
Which was just really badass to see on the page.
Thank you.
So I want to continue on with like just body image and self-love and things like that, because we see what the fashion industry, how they prioritize, these skinny white bodies. You see it everywhere. And like, there's almost like a tax for being plus size. And
Totally.
I don't want to give anything away insofar as like things that happen, because I'm trying to keep this as spoiler free if possible. But I want to talk about how you empower Charlie through her fashion choices. And like, there's like this one particular scene, which I won't spoil it for anyone, but like that was like a big aha moment for her. And I just want to talk about Charlie and fashion in general.
Totally. So I love fashion, and I feel like you do too. I have seen you on, yeah, I've seen your beautiful outfits. And so I personally feel like clothing can be so powerful, but when you are fat or plus size, it can also be really tough to find clothes that actually fit you. And your style may be more about the actual clothes that go on your body and what you can afford, rather than what you enjoy wearing and what makes you feel good. So for me, that was my experience sort of growing up. Was I was just buying things, that my family could afford. We were just whatever we could find. Okay. And I didn't get to wear as many cute things as like my friends were wearing. And that was tough. And once I started to dig into like the fat fashion community and realize that, oh, there are other options, that I felt like opened up such a world of possibilities for me. So I wanted to have Charlie have a similar experience. So she sort of starts out the book, she's fashionable when she starts it, and that's great, but she's also a little timid. It's tough for her to shop. She can't go into any store like Amelia can. And she has to basically seek out these stores that will cater to her. And then she ends up sort of discovering on social media that there's a whole other world out there of fat fashion. And what does that look like? And so that's sort of based on my experience too. And I just love the idea that an industry that has been traditionally really exclusive, right? Like, so it's not just for fat people, but there's a very specific body type that the fashion industry, gives preference to. And like you said, it's usually white, very small, very, very slim. Like it's very specific. And it excludes a lot of people. Yeah. And so I just love the idea of like sort of reclaiming some space in there and deciding, you know what, I'm not going to accept that. I'm going to find clothes that look beautiful on me and that make me feel really powerful. And we can sort of seek those spaces out through places like social media in ways we never could before. Yeah. So you can make your feed full of like all of these different beautiful bodies, all of these different clothes. And now suddenly you have a space that you've carved out and you didn't need anyone else's permission. And I just love that. To me, that's so powerful. And like, we should do that with everything.
I 100% agree with that. I think that, she like, that's like her little bastion, and like just the way you presented it was just so clever and sweet and like heartwarming to me. I really adored it so much.
Thank you.
And then just continuing that a little bit. So we got introduced to Amelia a little bit in the first chapter when you read, and you see a lot of like groups of friends and things like that, like found families, but it's Charlie and Amelia. Like, they've been friends for elementary school forever. And they're like loving, supporting, and so sweet to one another. Like, I love their friendship so much. But Charlie also has a little bit, like you even hear it in the first chapter, and I didn't realize that until you were reading it again. Like, the imposter syndrome was never hidden. It's like from the get, she has that. And I wanted to just talk a little bit about that aspect of their friendship and Charlie's imposter syndrome in general.
Yeah, so I feel like as a teen, and you know what, even as an adult, let's be real, you can find yourself in these wonderful circles of people, surrounded by people that you love and admire, but also sometimes find that you're comparing yourself to other people and comparing your journey to their journey and what you have versus what they have. And that can be really tough sometimes. And so you can feel jealous, you can feel competitive while also having all of these warm feelings and like, I would do anything for my female friends. Like I would, you know, I feel like I would murder for them, you know, like it's like I would do anything. And so I wanted to show how both of those things can be true, right? Like you can really deeply love your friends and also sometimes feel maybe like you don't measure up or feel like you don't quite fit in. And both of those things can be true. And you can still have a very beautiful, very productive friendship. And so I wanted to show that juxtaposition because I think real life relationships are sometimes messy. You know, we may wish that we never looked at our friend and felt jealous, but we do. That happens. It's normal. And I think talking about that helps normalize those feelings and helps make you feel less bad about it. And then you can confront some of those things. It's like, well, yeah, I am a little jealous, but you know what? I'm also rooting for you and I'm so happy for you, you know? And so I just wanted to like have these two friends who just really like you could feel the love that they had for each other, because I just think friendships are so important and so meaningful. Like they're really the like among the first relationships we make as like humans. Right. And although we uphold love and like romantic relationships, we, you know, place a lot of value on them. And I love love. I also love friends. And like, I want to give them like the validation and the appreciation that like our friendships deserve. So to me, Amelia is kind of like this nice tribute to all of the wonderful friends that like I've been lucky enough to have. And I hope everybody can see their friendships in this friendship that these two girls have.
They were gold, like they were absolute gold. And so that's all I'm going to say. I don't want to spoil it, but they were goals to me. Like I love their friendship so much.
Oh, yay. Thank you.
So I want to change a little bit and move on to talking about Charlie's Latinx identity. In the first chapter, her dad's Puerto Rican flag is there, like right there. And so I just wanted to talk about like what aspects of her Latinx identity were important to incorporate.
Yeah, so Charlie is Puerto Rican. She'll tell anybody like, I am Puerto Rican, this is who I am, love me for who I am. So for some of the things I wanted to incorporate were things that were really meaningful to me also. Like, so I'm also Puerto Rican. So I tried to like show basically love for my culture and like where I come from. And, you know, I wanted to like give some love to like the delicious foods that we have. Like I am so biased and I think Puerto Rican food is like the best. So I like wanted to have that be like Charlie's comfort food, just something that really spoke to her. And I also wanted to incorporate some of like the joys that I find of being Puerto Rican. Like we all have this with our different cultures. And for me, it's like being Puerto Rican is part of the joy of like togetherness and like this extended family and like found family. Like, so I know when I was younger, we would have all of these wonderful celebrations and everybody was family, whether or not you were actually family. Like everybody was family. You kiss everybody on the cheek, you give big greetings, like everyone's my cousin. And I'm like, I don't even know like how I know you, but somehow you are my cousin. You know what I mean? And there's just like so much love and joy and like celebration in that. And I really wanted to have that in this story. And then also show that there is like no right way to be Latinx, to be Puerto Rican, to be whatever it is, because Charlie does experience some doubts about, you know, am I Puerto Rican enough? Am I Latinx enough? What does that mean? And she sort of goes through that in her head and has doubts because she doesn't speak Spanish. And so this is, you know, a point that she feels a little bit insecure about. Yet she like realizes, oh, my experience as someone who's Puerto Rican is every bit as valid as anyone else's. There really is no right way to be any one thing. And it took me a long time to feel like that. And sometimes I feel like I still sometimes am like, oh my God, do I fit in? What does this look like? And so I think it's just a nice message to remind ourselves of, like, your experience with your culture is so like personal and it's beautiful. And like however you do you is exactly how you're supposed to. It's a celebration, right?
Exactly. Like no person is a monolith of their culture. And I think
Yes.
it's so important for teens especially to hear that, because you can experience being Puerto Rican totally different from, a sibling or your neighbor or whoever.
Exactly.
And you're both still Puerto Rican at the end of the day.
Exactly that.
I love it. I loved it so much. And then, but Charlie is also biracial, right? Her mother is white and her father was Puerto Rican. And so why was it important for you to intersect those identities for Charlie?
So I think that, so I'm both of those things also. So I think it takes on an interesting perspective when you have both of these two very separate identities and you sort of almost feel like you can never be enough of either one. So it's kind of lose-lose sometimes, but it's also win-win. So you get like the joys of being part of all of these different like groups, but also you have the sorrow of like straddling the line between two worlds. So Charlie kind of doesn't really feel like she is white enough for like her white peers, but then she also experiences some of those feelings like, yeah, I don't speak Spanish and I don't do this and I don't do that. So therefore she doesn't really feel like brown enough either.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's kind of just stuck in the middle. And that can be sort of an alienating feeling. And you can sometimes like get so stuck in your own head that you think, I'm the only person who's feeling this,
Right.
you know? And so her journey to really make peace with who she is and celebrate her way and her existence, I hope is relatable to people who have similar biracial identities and who also feel like, man, I don't really check off any boxes. I'm just kind of all the boxes. And like,
right.
what does that mean?
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Well, I loved it all. And this may even tie into it a little bit, but this is like a little bit of a Carmen fangirl question. So like Charlie is this, like fat, biracial, girl. Her story is never prioritized by publishing. And so what I'm wondering is how does it feel to have created this like iconic YA character? And, what message do you want this book to kind of scream out into the world?
First of all, you are way too nice to me. Thank you so much. So thank you. But honestly, with Charlie's story, I really wanted to create something that really centered a character that we often don't get to see as a main character. We don't usually get to see fat heroines and in the center of a rom-com, first of all. And then if we do, they're usually white. So I really wanted to make a main character who was loved and desired as she was. And she's fat and doesn't change that. And she's Puerto Rican. And like, that's incredible to me. I would have loved to have seen a character like this when I was growing up. Even just on the cover, I feel like would have been really, it would have helped like validate my experience and my identity. And so that's honestly why I wanted to write this book, was I wanted to help people who maybe don't feel like they get that representation that they deserve really start to feel seen and feel like there's someone out there who kind of gets them. And I also wanted this book to hopefully like start a conversation about, how do we talk about our bodies? How do we treat fat people? How do we treat ourselves and our own bodies? And like, what does that look like? And maybe we can start to rethink some of these ideas that we've been told by society. You need to lose weight, you need to be this, or you need to be smaller or perfect, and just start rethinking those ideas. And, to people who really resonate with Charlie's story, especially, I hope this book helps make them feel just represented and beautiful and confident and like they matter and that their story is worth sharing, because I fully believe that it is.
My heart. My heart. I love the notion of you are enough, like you
Yes.
are enough and like you deserve all the love. Okay. I hope everyone reads this book.
Thank
So
you.
I did want to ask you a little bit about like just your personal publishing journey. Like I've heard you tell the story a few times, and I don't know if you want to give us like a little take on your publishing journey, and then I have like a little publishing question for you.
Sure. So I don't want to bore you because you said you've heard this, but I know that. So
No, maybe not everyone else has.
So I started writing this book a while ago. I honestly started it in like 2016, kind of after the 2016 election, and I was like having a hard time after everything sort of happened. I was not feeling super welcome where I lived in this country. Like I just was not in a great headspace. And whenever I got to that place in my life, historically, I've always turned to writing because it has just always been a wonderful place for me to go. I loved losing myself in stories. And so this was like the perfect opportunity. And it felt so nice to like think about being a teen again and thinking about like first romances and like falling in love. And also it almost felt like an act of rebellion in some ways. So during a time when I felt like I was being told that my existence was less than some of other people, like my white counterparts and things like that, I was like, no, I want to make a story that features a brown girl and I want her to be desirable and I don't want her to have to change for anybody. And so that was my little way of like pushing back. And
Love it.
I wanted so badly for this book to come out in the world for that reason. And so it took a couple of years. So it took me a while to write. I didn't finish it until probably like 2018 or so. And then, publishing can be a little slow. So it's like you find your agent and then you have to find somebody who wants to publish the book. So it took a while, and then the pandemic sort of even slowed things down because this book was originally going to come out in 2020 and then that got pushed to 2021. But it has worked out for all of the wonderful ways it possibly could have. Like I'm so happy that it's coming out now and I feel so lucky. And honestly, I probably wouldn't have been in the best emotional space in the beginning of 2020 for my book to come out anyway. So this is great.
It worked out for everyone.
Exactly.
For everyone. So I wanted to ask, like specifically related to like you and publishing. So like you speak a lot about your relationships and your friendships, like your critique group, you're a member of Las Musas. And I'm wondering like, how have those friendships helped your publishing experience?
They have truly been so monumental for me. So I was such a reluctant person to share that I was trying to get a book published. I didn't tell anybody. Like I told my husband and that was it. I told nobody else. And so I feel like up until 2020, my publishing journey was really kind of lonely in a way because I was just so nervous to share this. And I kept thinking if I told people, it would somehow like get taken away or like it like wouldn't happen. And so I feel like meeting some other authors and meeting like all of the incredible authors that I admired in Las Musas. And I'm also part of this like debut group, the 20 Wonders, and that's where I have like my little writing group and we have writing sprints. And so just basically connecting with other people who are going through this same journey and who can relate helped validate that this is actually happening. Like it's been like, so now it's like, oh my God, I get to talk about this wonderful thing with other people and make these incredible friends. And they're so supportive. Like we share resources and we can be like, okay, this is happening to me. Is this normal? Or how many events should I have with my debut? All kinds of questions that it's just nice to have sounding boards and to have the support, especially when we're all stuck in our houses. Otherwise, it's nice to have other people to turn to.
That's wonderful. I love all your publishing relationships. So I just have like 2 little questions, and then I was going to go to Q&A. So if anyone has questions that they want to put in the Q&A, like go ahead and do that. And these questions are going to go quickly. So just to let you know, I want to know what you're currently reading.
Okay. So I just started reading If It Makes You Happy by Claire Can, which also features a fat main character. And I'm so excited. So I literally just started chapter 1 today.
Yes.
But I'm always here for like fat main characters in YA books, especially. So I'm really excited.
Okay.
And I'm about to start reading. Well, I just requested the advanced reader copy of 1500 Miles from the Sun by Johnny Garzavina. So it's not coming out until June. I know. And I've already pre-ordered it, but I'm trying to see if I can get that little advanced copy so I can read it. And I'm so excited. So I will let you know and update you. I know it's going to be phenomenal. So those are the 2 things I'm reading right now.
I'm so excited for that book that when I made my most anticipated books, I just made a blank cover and I just put the title and his name on a cover. And it's like, it doesn't even have a cover, but it's going on the list. So
Johnny is incredible. Like their book is going to just be the best. So I can't wait.
So excited. I'm so excited. Okay. All right. So it's Valentine's week and I don't know why I like to do this, but it's called Romance This or That. And basically, I'm going to give you 2 romance tropes and you have to pick like your favorite out of them. And I try to make it as impossible as I can.
Oh God.
But we're going to see. We're going to see. So, okay. And I only have 5 and then we'll go from there. Okay. So my first one is shared bed or arranged marriage.
Ooh. Shared bed.
Okay.
Come on.
All right.
Intensity, like
I know. It's like, what happens if you answer wrong? Like, are they all right? I don't know.
I don't know.
So the next one is second. I have this on my computer. I'm sorry, I have to turn away. Second chances or childhood best friends to lovers.
Oh,
I know.
Oh no.
I know.
I guess, okay, so I have to go second chances because that kind of relates to my book. But I also have such a soft spot for childhood best friends to lovers. Okay, but I'm gonna go second chances.
Okay. That's okay. That's okay. That's a good one. Okay. I don't know. I must have not been sleeping when I made this list. It says hate to love or love to hate to love.
Ooh, hate to love, right? Like enemies to lovers.
Enemies to lovers. Yeah.
Ooh, there's just something so good about that.
Yeah. All right. And then I think this is an easy one. Either a love triangle or every person the protagonist meets falls in love with them.
Wait, you think this is easy? So I want to know what your answer is.
You tell me yours first.
Okay. I feel like, I don't know, I kind of love a love triangle. Is that bad?
That was my answer. That was my answer. Like, I know people say they're played out, but if there's a good love triangle and if it keeps me guessing and like going from one to the other, I'm fine with that.
I'm feeling you. Like that is, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right, one more and then we'll get to questions.
Okay.
So either fake relationship or a sunshine / grumpy like love interest couple.
Fake dating. I gotta go fake dating.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was the only one I disagreed with you on.
Okay. Oh, that's fair though. That's why there's all kinds of books, right?
I know. But fake dating is really fun because like, are they, aren't they? Like,
right? And see, I'm a huge fan of To All the Boys I've Loved Before, and I just watched the 3rd movie. So, I had to go fake dating. But you're right also.
Okay. We're both right.
Yeah.
So there's some questions and I'm going to attempt to try to use the Q&A section here. So this is, all right. So I'm just going to press this button and see. All right. So Delaney is asking, what's your favorite thing about this book?
Oh, my favorite thing about this book. I honestly think it might be just the love. So I based the character of Brian on my husband, which I have shared. But so he and I met when we were in high school, and I really just wanted to like pay tribute to our relationship. And yeah, so I just think he's truly like obviously the best person in the whole world, and he's so funny and caring. and just a really good person. And I wanted to make a character, Brian, that is also just like has all of the wonderful parts of my husband and just like make people pine after him. And my husband takes so much pride in that. He's like, you know, if people like Brian, that means they like me too. And I'm like, okay, relax.
He's going to be asking for another chair during, like, if you ever go on like a physical book tour, he's going to be like, well, let me just get right over here next to you.
He's gonna be like, yeah, I need to talk to because I'm Brian. So.
Oh, that is so sweet. That is so sweet. All right. Oh, Delaney has a second question, which is, if you could tell Charlie one thing, what would it be?
Oh, I would tell her that she is just perfect exactly as she is, because I think we all could use that message any day, right? Like all the time. And so she does go on a really, I feel like, wonderful journey, but I think we all need that reminder from time to time. And I really do think she's just like such a wonderful person, and she needs to be told that every single day of her life. So that's what I would tell her.
Oh my God.
And also that she's got like the greatest sense of fashion, like seriously. So
yeah, I would agree. Like on the page, I was like, I'm feeling
right?
what Charlie's feeling. Oh yeah. For sure. 100%. 100%. Okay. So Alexis has a question for us, which is, what is your favorite Puerto Rican food?
Oh my God. This is like having to choose between your children, I feel like. So my like big comfort food is honestly rice and beans. So like yellow rice and beans. And I've recently started putting chorizo in it, and it is life changing. And I just have to tell you, but I also really love pernil. So like a pulled pork with, so good. Also tostones. Okay, now I'm just like listing all of my favorites. Empanadas are so good too.
Oh. This is cheating. You're cheating on your responses.
I'm
so
so
all your favorites. I love it.
Sorry.
Well, I'm gonna have to go eat after this.
I know. Now I'm hungry.
I know. All right. One more question from Alexis again. What has been the best advice you've received so far in life, love, or in general?
Wow. Of all the advice, the best piece. Okay, so I feel like I'm going to share some writing advice, and then I'll also just share some like general love advice. So, writing advice, I feel like if you're an aspiring writer, one of the things that really helped me as someone who's just like a generally anxious person is the idea of like there's a lot in writing and in publishing that is sort of beyond your control. And the one thing that you can control is your story and the things that you create. So when I was like in the throes of trying to figure out how the heck you come out with a novel during a pandemic, how do you promote it? What does that all look like? I kept coming back to that idea as just, that was basically, you know what, you can only do so much. What I can focus on is making a really great book and then work on the next book. And so then it's like takes the pressure off of only having like one book that has to be totally perfect, you know? So like for things when I was like writing my acknowledgements, I was so stressed out. I was forgetting somebody, and I still have that fear. And then I was like, okay, if I do a second book, I have new acknowledgements. And so it's okay if I miss something. So it just like helped, I feel like, me just like calm down. So that is some writing advice that I really loved. And then just like general life advice, I feel like just coming to appreciate and make room for me and like this and my journey exactly as it is has been really life-changing for me. So when I was younger, I always thought I had to be a certain kind of person, or that I needed to lose weight, or I needed to do things a certain kind of way. And when things didn't work out that way, I would get so down on myself until I realized, like, I would hear from other people like, okay, well, I don't know why you're making up this like fake rule of how you have to live your life. You just live your life and you just take joy from all of the happy moments and you appreciate those, and you'll be so much more joyful for it because you have appreciated your journey and you don't have to live up to like anyone's expectations but your own. And that was really freeing for me. I was like, wow, I can just be myself, and that's okay.
I love it. That's beautiful advice.
Thank you.
Questions keep coming in, so we're going to keep going. So the next one is from Stephanie. And in the spirit of delightful YA, what was one of your favorite YA books when you were Charlie's age?
Oh, when I was Charlie's age. Okay, so I'd been 16. Oh my God, what if I can't even think of books when I was 16?
Take a wild guess.
All right, so this one is not when I was Charlie's age, but one of the books that was really like important to me was The House on Mango Street by Sandra Cisneros. It's not like especially a YA book, but kind of. But I remember reading that in college and just thinking like, oh my God, there's room for brown girl stories. And that was so incredible to me at the time. Like I had read so many like white older male stories for so much of my like high school career that I almost like didn't know that there was a whole other world of possibilities out there. And then another really important one to me was Dumplin by Julie Murphy. So this was obviously it's a story about a fat girl and somebody who like discovers her joy and just like how to be a badass. Like I loved that book. So those were two really big important ones for me.
Love it. And both like delightful books.
Yes.
So we have one more question. Can you tell us anything about your current WIP?
Okay, so so I'm currently working on a book that's supposed to come out in 2022. So yay, this is book 2. So it's not set in Charlie's world, but it does feature another fat brown girl at its center. And so this story is about a girl who is very good at photography and is mildly, very obsessed with Instagram and just wants so badly to become someone who has a lot of followers on Instagram. And so she is seeing like these other influencers and like they all have these great followings and she sort of can't crack the code. She can't figure out like, why does nobody want to follow me and whatever. And so she has a best friend of hers that she feels is conventionally attractive. She's thin. And it's like, well, this friend isn't even on Instagram. And it's like, she's wasting her potential because she could have a lot of followers, but doesn't. So she just, you know what? She's just like, I'm just going to steal her pictures. And what if I made a new Instagram account and I pretended to be my friend and I made a whole other identity?
Oh my God.
And she just starts catfishing people just for the thrill of it. And it goes very poorly. I mean, it goes great until it doesn't. And so that is like what I can share. And so it's like sort of a book just about our obsession with social media, my obsession with social media, all of our collective obsessions with social media.
Right.
And, you know, just like finding yourself and figuring yourself out. So it has some similar themes to Charlie, but yeah.
I cannot wait. I cannot wait. That sounds perfect.
I'm very excited.
Oh my gosh, Crystal. Well, thank you for sharing with us. I feel like we got an exclusive first peek at your second novel. So thank you. So that concludes the Q&A session. And I think,
should we invite Stephanie back?
Yeah.
Does she want to come back?
Want to come in and say hi? No.
Hello, that was amazing. Also,
Yay.
I just need to read your new book right now. That sounds so good.
I'm still working on edits, so we'll see how it goes. But I'm very excited.
When you need blurbs, please let me know. That's amazing.
Okay.
Thank you both. This was a wonderful conversation. I loved the in-depth the questions and conversations, and also that quick round at the end was so much fun too about tropes. It was a perfect balance of things. I also want to say thank you again to everyone who was here tonight. I am dropping one last time a link to where you can buy your own copy of this book and fall in love with Charlie just as much as we all have. But yeah, that is our evening together. This was
has been so
amazing.
fun. Thank you so
This
much.
was so much. This was so fun. Thanks to everyone for coming out. Crystal, is like a dream to talk to you. And Stephanie, thank you to you and Print for having us. This was amazing. Thank you.
It was
Thank
lovely.
you guys. This has been the best. I've loved
Thank
hanging
you.
out. And thanks for all the good questions and like
know.
friends for coming. Just thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Bye.